Today's lesson is lesson 6, solving with distribution. I can simplify each side of the equation by distributing and then isolate the variable. Again, we've talked about distributing and learned about the distribution property in the last unit. And we know how to isolate the variable because we've been working on that with lessons 1 through 5. So if you missed any videos for whatever reason, make sure you go back and watch what you missed before you continue on with today's lesson. So the first step is to distribute. Get rid of those parentheses if possible. Not every equation will always have parentheses, but today's will. After you distribute, then that you can combine like terms if they're on the same side of the equal sign. And then you're going to look for terms on opposite sides and then use those opposite or inverse operations to isolate the variable. So take a look at problem number 1. We have parentheses, so in order to eliminate those parentheses, I'm going to distribute 3 times 2 and 3 times 4. Remember, those parentheses mean multiplication. Take what's on the outside, multiply it to the inside. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times 4 is 12. And now what you have is a two-step equation. In order to get the plus 12 over to the 60, because they're like terms but on opposite sides, you have to use your opposite operations. The opposite of adding 12 is to minus 12. And again, you should be showing all these steps in your workbook, just as I am right now in the video. 12 take away 12 is 0, which allows me to cross those out. 6x equals 60 minus 12. Should be using a calculator, but if not, you're going to have to borrow and carry over, and we get 48. I now have 6x, which means 6 times x, so the opposite of multiplying by 6 is to divide by 6. 6 divided by 6, eliminate or become 1. X is equal to 48 divided by 6. So I know 6 times 6 is 36. Add another 6, that's 7, and then add, so it's 8. Again, you should be using that calculator. You also should be doing a quick check by taking that 8 and plugging it back into the original problem. You always check in the original. So if you are checking your answers, as you should be, 3 parentheses, now instead of 2x, it's going to be 2 times 8 because we got 8 for x plus 4 inside the parentheses. Make sure that 2 times 8 plus 4 is in parentheses and the 3 is on the outside. When you hit equals, you should get that 60 that they're showing on the right-hand side. You should check your answers when you're doing your Google form questions as well. Problem number 2, if you don't like the equals 30 on the left, you can most certainly move it to the right. I'm going to leave it where it is. I'm going to distribute that to 2 times x, which has a coefficient of 1, so 2 times 1 is 2x. 2 times 5 is 10. 30 equals, and again, if you're uncomfortable with the 30 equals on the left, you can move it to the right. I want to move my 10 on the right to my 30 on the left. Opposite of adding is to subtract. They're on opposite sides, opposite operations. 20 equals 2x. Opposite of multiplying by 2 is to divide by 2. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. I now have 10 is equal to x, or x is equal to 10. Problem number 3, again, distribute first. No one should be adding those 2's together. You should be taking what's on the outside of those parentheses and multiplying first. So 2 times x is a positive 2x. 2 times a negative 4 is a negative 8. This 2 that was in the front now drops down. Not the one that I used, but the one that I did not use. Once you distribute, whatever number you used to distribute is now gone. Don't drop it down again. Combine like terms because I have a constant, and they're on the same side of the equal sign. That allows me just to circle them and combine them together. I don't have to use opposite operations because they're on the same side. 2 take away 8 is a negative 6, so I now have 2x minus 6 equals 14. The opposite of subtracting 6 is to add 6. 2x equals 20. Opposite or inverse of multiplying by 2 is to divide by 2. And I have x is equal to 10. And again, you can substitute the 10 in for x and do 2 plus 2 parentheses 10 minus 4, hit equals, and it should come out to be 14. Number 4, distribute that to 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times a negative 2 is a negative 4x equals 21. In order to get my constant of 10 over to the 21 on the right, since there's nothing to combine, I'm going to use my opposite operations. The opposite of a positive 10 is to minus 10. That negative goes with the 4, so we don't want to add 10 because 10 plus 10 is 20. That's not going to help me get x alone. I want to get rid of the 10 by subtracting the 10. That's 0. Make sure when you bring the 4x down, you bring it down with the negative. That's a minus 4x or a negative 4x. 21 minus 10 gives you 11? What? We have decimals here. That wasn't supposed to happen. Divide both sides by negative 4. These now eliminate because the opposite of multiplying by a negative 4 is to divide by a negative 4. X equals, oh, I found my negative there. Negative 4 can't go into 11 evenly, so I'm just going to leave it as 11 over negative 4. You could convert it into a decimal or a mixed number. That's fine too, but I don't have my calculator handy, so it doesn't divide in evenly. I'm just going to leave it improper. But keep in mind when you're doing the Google form, there might be another version if you get fractions as a decimal or a mixed number, which is fine. Problem number 5. Oh, and if you're feeling comfortable at this point, if you think you can do the rest of these problems on your own, pause the video and try maybe 5 through 8 and hit play and check those. If that goes well, then hit pause again and then try 9 through 12 and then hit play and check those. So if you're feeling confident with this, if you think you could do it, pause the video and then hit play when you're done and check your answers. You do not need to watch me do all of them if you're feeling confident. Just watch it when you're done and make sure they're correct and then make your corrections where necessary. Number 5, I need to start by distributing the 2. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times a negative 10 is a negative 20. Bring everything down that I did not use. And now combine like terms if you can, and I can because I have 3 and a minus 20 together on this left-hand side. So I can just circle and combine. 3 minus 20 is a negative 18, so I have 6x minus 18 equals 7. The minus 18 and the 7 are on opposite sides, so I have to use opposite operations. So I'm going to add 18 to both sides. I now have 6x equals 18 plus 7. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Oh, I get decimals again. I now divide both sides by 6. 6 cannot divide into 25 evenly, so I'm going to leave this as x equals 25 over 6. Again, you can convert it into a decimal in your calculator or change it into a mixed number. That's fine as well. But since it can't be simplified, I'm going to leave it. Problem number 6, 3 times x, 3x. 3 times a negative 7 is a negative 21, which equals 9 by 9. There's nothing I combine together, so I want to get the 21 over to 9 by adding it. I have 3x equals 30. Okay, at least this one works out nicely. The opposite of multiplying by 3 is to divide by 3, and I get x equals 10. Problem number 7, 5 times 2x is a 10x. 5 times a negative 5 is a negative 25. Opposite of subtracting 25 is to add 25. 10x equals 5 and 5 is 10. Carry the 1, 5, 6, 7, 80. Opposite of multiplying by 10 is to divide by 10. And I get x is equal to 8. Problem number 8, multiply by 2, I get 4x. Multiply by 2 again, I get 8. And now I'm going to subtract 8 to get it over to the 20. I have 4x equals, again, I don't have a calculator, so you should be using one, but I'm going to borrow. I get 12. I then divide by 4, and I get x is equal to 3. Okay, so hopefully you did well on those. If you watched me do them again, then I'm going to strongly encourage that you pause and make sure you can do 9 through 12 on your own and then hit play and check them before you have to do the ones in the Google form. Problem number 9, let me change up my color here, let's do purple. So I'm going to distribute and multiply by the 3. This x has an invisible coefficient of 1. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 2 is 6. Now I'm going to subtract 6. Some of you might not need to draw this wall anymore, but some of you find it helpful. That's fine. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. They're on opposite sides. 27 take away 6 is 21. I now divide both sides by 3 and get x is 7. Problem number 10, multiply by 7. I get 14x minus 5, 10, 15, 20, 20, 30, 35. The opposite of subtracting 35 is to add 35. So I have 14x equals 70, right? I'm going to divide by 14. I don't believe 14 goes into 70 evenly. 5, 10, 15, 20, maybe 14 times 5. I'll do it up here. 5, 10, 15, 20. Oh, yep, it does. 5 times. So x equals 5. So if it can be simplified, make sure you simplify it. Problem number 11, 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 5 is 20, which is equal to 40. The opposite of adding 20 is to minus 20. I have 4x equals 20. Now I'll divide both sides by 4, continuing doing my inverse operations to isolate that variable, and I get x is equal to 5 again. And then the last problem, 5 times 2x is 10x. 5 times 6 is 30, which is equal to 40. Subtract 30 from both sides to get that 10x alone. 10x equals 10. The opposite of multiplying by 10 is to divide by 10, and I now have x is equal to 1. So hopefully, if you tried these on your own, you got better at it while you did them, because now you're going to be doing the Google form. To try these, we will practice in class. Your Google form starts where it says homework on the bottom of page 117 and goes over into page 118. And it may also include what's in the review section. That entire page is part of the homework title up above. So again, I'll be picking 5 questions. All of your work should be in your workbook before you pick your answers in the Google form. And again, you can check your answer by plugging your answer back in for x and make sure it equals what's on the right-hand side of the equation, or the left side if the equal's on the left. So you can check your answer before submitting your answer on the Google form. Good luck.